Hello, hello, hello. My name's Dennis. That's my crime. So's my punishment. Also go by Devillo online, and this is this is a little look at something that I've been really excited on working on for a while. This is Tomb of the Abomination, which is my take on the adventure. I had the book. Here it is. On the adventure Tomb of Annihilation. So let me just put that there. If you are playing the characters Char, Bucket, Risk, Malik, and Kinrel, this video is not for you, and especially if you are a member of the Dice and Dolts role-playing group and plan on playing in Tomb of the Abomination in the near future, this is definitely not for you. What this is for people who are interested in running Tomb of Annihilation, but they're trying to get their own spin on it, or they're interested in seeing how other people have played the scenario. This book is something that I've really wanted to run for a long time. It's something that really inspired me. I had a lot of ideas. I had a lot of excitement about Chult itself as a character and as a setting, and its history and everything like that. My player character from Curse of Strahd, Azilla, was actually from Chult. She was a basically she was an Asimar, but her divine parent was a Coatl. I had a lot of fun with her and everything, and a lot of her backstory has ended up seeding into this scenario and some of the stuff that we're going to be doing in the future. So that's one of the ways that my Tomb of Annihilation is going to be different from yours, because this is basically tied in a little bit to the ongoing narrative of other campaigns that have been going on. Before I get into what I've changed, I want to kind of go over the big issue that I have with this book, or some of the big issues. It's a scenario that goes from levels 1 to 11, and what it doesn't mention. And before we really get into it, there's going to be spoilers for Tomb of Annihilation. So if you haven't played it, if you're a player of this game, you probably shouldn't be checking this out either. This is for people who are running the game, or people who have no intention of ever playing it, but are just curious about how they can adapt it and get some ideas on what you can do to make it your own. So I hate the start of this book so much. I think I've yet to meet a single person who thinks the party getting teleported by Sindra Sylvain is a good idea. I think that sucks. I think it sucks so bad, and it's a symptom of a bigger problem in this book. And the problem is that the main focus is not on the exploration of Chult or anything like that. The main focus is on the tomb itself. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's actually going to be about a third. Let me just check the pages. Yeah, you see here, it's because yes, I have put little post-it notes on everything. It is what appears to be a third of the book is dedicated to the tomb. 1/3 is on Chult itself. And then you've got a good chunk of, stuff with the Thane, Omu, and everything like that. And it's like, and the reason for this is, the whole point that this book existed is that it was supposed to be it was a love letter to, the Tomb of Horrors. That one of the classic meat grinder dungeons. And so this book and this adventure was supposed to be sort of to bring back the whole meat grinder aspect, like the death trap dungeons and all this, that, and the other, and the whole look. It even says in the book, hey, you don't need to bother with Chult, you don't need to explore any of that, you can just go straight to the dungeon. You just find it is there, and you just go in, and then you just, which is fine, which is absolutely fine. However, they've put so much into Chult as a setting, and there is so much really interesting history and so much to explore that for me this is a case of different design teams focusing on their own particular section, and the overall thing not meshing really well as a result. So in the book itself, you have the hex crawl, the player guide to Chult. You've got the big map where it's a single hex a day through the jungle, and there are many hexes. Now let's actually bring up the map of Chult, and you'll see that this one looks a little bit different. You can see this overlay here because I'll actually show you on the GM. Basically, what the players are going to see is this. This was the version of the Chult map that I made for my players. It has all the information that exists on the player handout version, but it feels like it's actually been cobbled together from multiple accounts from different, stories, bits of conjecture, and it may not be completely accurate. There may be some locations that are slightly off. So, for example, I think Mabala is not exactly in that area. There's one or two things that are kind of like slowly slipped around. There was actually a version, I think, where I had the Nisi Wastes. I had tried to include stuff to the Nisi Wastes, and then I checked the player version with all the hexes in the middle. I'm like, oh no, yeah, they wouldn't know about that, so I just scrapped that. But I used a few different sources. There's this bit of Lantan from the world map, which I'll be showing you more in a minute. This one down here was from a handout in one of the Mesro books. We'll get to Mesro in a little bit as well, but just wanted to show off one of the handouts that I'm fairly proud of in regards to where trying to put the players in the mind of nobody really knows that much about this place, including the locals, because the jungle eats everything. Time and the jungle just devour places. So there's a lot to explore, there's a lot to uncover, and just having them be like, oh well, we need to go to Olmu, we need to find it now, that's just it's boring, at least to me. So let me just put that back onto here. So we find ourselves in let's see, let me just bring us back up to the map of Faerun itself. In the book as written, Sindra Sylvain basically teleports the players from Baldur's Gate into Chult, and I think that misses a massive opportunity to tell some interesting stories. So one of the adventures that I picked up, it was something on the DM's Guild. I'm actually going to, let me just share my actual display properly for a moment. The infinite loop. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cobbling together two different scenarios into the opening for this campaign on Twitch and YouTube. First of all, we're going to be using the Brazen Pegasus, a seafaring adventure to Chult. And this is written by Mr. Daniel Sheltemar. Secondly, we're going to be using the adventure All Eyes on Chult, which is included in Xanathar's Lost Notes to everything else. So what I'm doing is I'm basically taking the information from those different scenarios, and I've put them into, Roll20. I've got the basic broken down version. The main meat of what I'm doing is going to be Voyage to Chult. And it's broken down into, several days of travel by sea. In the book it says from Baldur's Gate. However, because my player characters have such a connection to Waterdeep, because we did Waterdeep Dragon Heist, we'll actually be starting this scenario there. Let me just briefly show you what I have planned. So, we open up with a brief description about the city of Waterdeep and everything. Remind them of the giant statues and Troll Skull Alley, some of the stuff that's happened in recent history. Then we go over to the tavern itself. I actually probably should switch over some of the music to the tavern, but yeah. We'll keep the introduction music for now. But yeah, this is the Tavern Map that Nicola, the DM for Dragon Heist, made last year, and she was very kind enough to send me a bunch of the player character tokens. So a bunch of these were the PCs from the last major campaign, and so we've got the new characters who are meeting up in this tavern. For various reasons. One of the things I've been wanting to play around with in this that I haven't in previous ones is the faction system. Mainly used in the Adventurers League. I kind of like having the factions as kind of a force, because I'm taking a big influence from various Adventures League modules as well as what's in the core book, so it makes sense to have them be an optional thing that people can jump into, for basically specific motive, give them a motivation to do something because it's part of their job. Their faction is actually sending them to this location for a very specific reason. So the general idea is we're actually starting the story by using the setup scenario to All Eyes on Chult, and that's involving two somewhat nefarious ships and an unfortunate alliance that seems to be forming between a branch of the Zentarum and the Xanathar's Guild. So a bunch of Harpers and Emerald Enclave people meet up in this tavern, and they head upstairs to have a private meeting. However, they will find someone already there waiting for them, and this was an opportunity for me to throw in a little bit of Waterdeep lore, and I'm going to throw Jarlaxle at them. Level 1. Jarlaxle is basically going to say he's been contacted by friends in the Zentarum, because he knows the Zentarum aren't really popular in this tavern for reasons you will have to find out by watching Dragon Heist on the Journeys Plays YouTube channel. But yeah, he's basically going to explain that not only are the Harpers concerned with the activity of these two ships, it turns out that the Zentarum themselves aren't too happy either. Apparently the captain of the Zentarum ship has been going off the books for quite a while now, and they would like to assist the players in any way they can in bringing this rogue element to justice, to take their good name out of the gutter, that kind of thing. I have a sneaking suspicion that because most of my players, especially Rascal, This is his old character here, Kuba. This is his new character. It's another kobold named Risk. They're all like, he's so into the Harpers as a concept, and I really loved when he was in Dragon Heist. He was just playing up like he's just this little kobold bard, but he can, he believes in doing the right thing, and he's going to make the world a better place, and the Harpers are the way to do that. And I was playing a Minotaur Paladin called Captain Ryzan, who was a Zentarum. And oh, the fun we had. So I know for a fact the idea that... Well, here's the thing. The reason I used Jarlaxle and not an actual Zentarum member is because A, I knew that, they would absolutely attack a Zentarum if they just showed up in the tavern. But, like Kuba especially... but I would assume that at this point Rascal knows enough about the city to know, oh, that's Jarlaxle. We probably want to at least listen to what he says and let him politely leave. Because Jarlaxle is not someone to be fucked with. But yeah. The players are going to get the inciting incident, the two ships that are heading to Chult with nefarious purpose in mind. And so they are going to charter a ship known as the Brazen Pegasus, captained by a gnome by the name of Captain Automate Swift and Dark. This is someone who appears in the book. However, the PDF that I mentioned earlier, the adventure, the Brazen Pegasus, a seafaring adventure, this is where this story starts to come in. And over the course of a couple of days, the players are going to be making the way from Waterdeep. So basically about a 6-day travel, and they're heading through here. Now, the scenario, basically it goes into detail about some of the stuff that happens on the ship. The player characters, and this is of course massive spoiler for the scenario, the player characters are not quite alone on this ship. They appear to have picked up a little bit of a stowaway. These are some of the scenes that I have set up for the Theatre of the Mind, the general RP. I kind of agree with Rogue Watson, whose videos were a big inspiration for this, by the way. That whenever you put a map down, like a grid map, the first instinct your players are going to have is like, okay, when's the fire? And our group is the same. But this is the general map that I have for the Brazen Pegasus. You'll see there's a little bit of a weird whirlpool texture. The players won't be able to see this, but basically I have the same map for several different days. You'll also notice that we have an Undril Silvertusk on this boat. In the PDF, it basically says that Sundra Sylvain has hired this boat for them for, various reasons. And that she also has hired somebody else to join the party, and it's Salida, who is one of the more interesting guides that you can meet in the scenario. However, I kind of wanted to do something a little bit different, and I really like the storyline in the book that Undril Silvertusk has, along with the Order of the Gauntlet, and the whole thing with Camp Righteous and Camp Vengeance and all that stuff. So I figured that I would have her show up instead. And she's desperately trying to catch this boat because she has been trying to get into Chult for the longest time. She missed her last ship. You're not too sure. I'm not too sure whether to play up the fact that her group, the Order of the Gauntlet, are basically they basically left a day early to leave her, because I'm still trying to figure out her personality. But because she's kind of the medical officer, I'm thinking she's almost got like a Dr. McCoy vibe from Star Trek, where she just kind of rubs people the wrong way. She's very blunt and constantly grousing and complaining or something. I'm still playing around with it, but for whatever reason, she has missed the previous ship with the rest of her crew. The rest of the members of the Order of the Gauntlet have gone on, and so she is trying to catch any ship she can. And her introduction is going to be just as the boat is starting to pull away. You just hear this half-orc, yeah, wait, no, no, and it's like someone's trying to catch a bus, and it is up to the players whether or not they actually do anything to let her on. And if she doesn't get on, she doesn't get on. That's fine. She's going to show up much later on in the story anyway. But this is the map that I have set up. Here's Captain Automate herself, the gnome. This is Grig, her second in command, and her crew. But you'll also notice over here, on the GM there, we have a character by the name of Widow Groat. Yes, you see, one of these, for those of you, again, I did say there was going to be major spoilers. The Sohn sisters, in my version of this adventure, are going to be the primary antagonists, at least for the Tomb of Annihilation arc, you know, leading up to the Tomb of the Nine Gods. At this point in time in the story, the soulmonger is not yet finished or built. Acererak has built the tomb, but he is looking for... He's recruiting, and he has sent out a word to the various hags of Toril. Come to Chult. We have things to discuss. And so Widow Groat is currently catching a ride invisible on this boat that's heading towards Chult. So every night she's going to be doing something to the players to see if she can make them commit a murder. Basically, over the course, and this is all in the adventure voyage to Chult. So at the end of every night, she is going to basically cast illusions and, you know, visions, drive people mad. She's basically going to make things pretty fucking miserable on this already fairly tightly packed boat. And it's not just Widow Groat that's going to be a problem. Over the course of the day, over the course of the week rather, the party will also run afoul of another, you know, group of pirates. These are from the book. This is Captain. Let me get his... Captain Elok Jahal. Is it Jahal? Jawan, sorry. This gentleman here and his crew from Jacker Anchorage, later on in the book, they basically show up, humiliate the players, and take everything that they have, everything that's of value. They leave their weapons, they leave their equipment, for two reasons. One, that would be fucking cruel for them to start the game off with nothing, and two, he's basically just here for gold. He knows that if he takes their weapons and everything, they're gonna die. He would much rather them be, you know, useful. He basically wants the players and, you know, Captain Automate to be able to survive this, so they can regroup, they can get more treasure, more wealth, and then rob them again on the way back. Because that's just the mentality of the character. This was the token that I used as well for, let me just zoom in over here. Why? No! You laggy thing, you. Come on. Roll 20, why are you like this? Hello? So, you probably can't see it at the bottom there because of the way I've got the overlay, but there we are. This is the token I used for Eye of the Deep. One or two of the tokens on going through this, these are either art assets that I've picked up from the Tomb of Annihilation Discord and subreddits, or from other modules that I've picked up. This in particular is from She is the Land, which is a gender-flipped version of Curse of Strahd. I don't know what I can do with that, because unfortunately the Curse of Strahd game, which we've been in for 3 years, is slowly coming to a close, but at the very least the tokens are really fucking cool. So this is something that happens during the course of the adventure. On the 5th day, there's another bit of combat that happens. Let me see if I can actually... Do we have some sea voyage stuff? Let's see. Do we have any ocean music? Of course, everything is deciding now that it is going to poop itself, because it's like, ah! But this is the music that I have for Port Nyanzaru, and all of this is done through Sirenscape, by the way. Yeah, I always use Sirenscape for my music because, you know, no disrespect to Roll20, but the selections are a little bit limited. I prefer being able to customize all the little bits and pieces and everything. So. But yeah, here we are on the open sea, and they will also have at some point a pterodon attack with Plesiosaurus lurking in the background as well. So there's going to be, you know, plenty of combat. There's going to be some fighty fights, but the best part is going to be, let me bring it back to day 1, which is also day 6, and the reason we had a whirlpool. They're going to encounter Aramak, the giant dragon turtle. And like I say, all of this is hidden from the players. But I'm basically going to, you know, ping this area of the map, you know, have them pay attention, and then, you know, make him visible and slowly drag him over to the boat. And as he's working his way around, a whirlpool starts to form and the boat's just spinning. And because they've been robbed, they have no tribute to give him. And he's basically just going to flip the boat. And the players are going to end up finding themselves... Let me just actually show you. I'm basically going to be sharing this piece of artwork as he just like flips the boat. And they eventually find themselves in, you know, the Bay of Chult. There's a few other little things that happen in the conclusion to the Brazen Pegasus, you know, scenario. But eventually they're going to, whoever's survived, because some people can die in this. I've got no problems killing my players in the first episode. But eventually they're going to make their way into Port Nyanzaru itself. And that is essentially my introduction to the story. Now, because this is going to be a West Marches style game, and what that means is it's going to have a rotating cast of characters. You see at the bottom here with the Twitch overlay that I have, we have Char, Bucket, Risk, Malik and Kinrel. That is not always going to be the case. If we just head over to the splash page for one moment, you see that we have a few other characters. We have Tarth, we have Lucy, we have Jenna, we have Reese's. Originally, the idea was that this campaign was going to be a straight level 1 to 20 with one fixed bunch of characters. However, because my current work schedule is a little bit all over the place. I can't get fixed days off, and some of my players are in the same boat. And here's another thing as well. We basically have such a large group on Dice and Dolts that everybody wants their turn. Everybody wants, to have, at least some time to play the game, and which is absolutely fair and proper. So rather than have just one group of people take the whole thing, I decided, because I'm going to be running this as sort of an episodic game where each individual adventure is its own little sub-episode, its sub-scenario, I decided that, okay, let's have each adventure be different characters, different players. Everybody gets their turn at a particular scenario, and we basically play it that way. It's going to take a little bit of finagling in terms of getting everybody's schedules to line up and so on, but the basic pitch is whoever is available on this particular day, and I usually know about 3 or 4 weeks in advance, everyone who's available on this day who wants to play, awesome. Make sure you've got a character ready. This is the level bracket, and it's usually going to be, I would say for the foreseeable future, it is going to be levels 1 to 3, because a lot of the early Adventurers League stuff is 1 to 3. And we're going to have them basically go through a whole bunch of Adventurers League stuff, such as City on the Edge, Over the Edge, Day at the Races, all that kind of stuff. And while that's going on, we'll also be jumping back to the initial group and the ongoing scenario, All Eyes on Chult. And the reason I'm doing that is because the initial section, that's just for levels 1. So, let me actually, because I've explained a little bit about what I'm doing for the Brazen Pegasus scenario. But this is what I've got set up for the scenario All Eyes on Chult. Because technically it's written to take place after Tomb of Annihilation, instead I'm doing it before. I think it's a little more interesting that way. So the player characters, along with Captain Ortmeyer, they are going to find Zindar, the Dragonborn Harbour Master. Why you do this? There we go. I'm going to find Zindar, and he's going to explain that the 2 ships that they were tracking, they have already docked. Let's go to the docks. I'm pretty sure I have the harbour ward here. Here we go. And it crashed. Yay! Simonscape, you just crashed on me, didn't you? Why would you do that? Why? But anyway, technical difficulties. Oh, and it's back. Anyway. On brand. So, regardless, the characters are going to meet up with Zindar, and he is going to give them the basic rundown of what's going on, and from that point we're going to head into Chapter 1, Ships in the Dark, and go through the basic plot as normal. And the 2 ships, they basically use the same map, the Flying Adder and the Wicked Gaze. And so I've got all this information here, and I've actually got both of them here. I basically duplicated the same map from the Tomb of Annihilation setup, because again, all the pirate ships have the same map. I find that so fucking lazy, but it's a starting point, and eventually I'll hopefully get the time to customize them a little more, add some, some kind of at least, texturing or flavoring, or give them a completely different map. We will see. But yeah, for the time being, I've added a dock to this side of the page, and I've got the various tokens here that are included in the information. So I've basically populated each one depending on what it says in the handout. And the next stage is going to be heading into the and I've not set this up yet, but in the second chapter, which is level 2, that has the player characters heading through the Grand Souk, in Waterdeep in Port Nyanzaru, and I do have some maps. I still need to upload and install them, but basically they're going to be heading around this area here, and they're going to be tracking down one of the captains of the ship. They're going to try and find out some information, this, that, and the other. And once we've done that scenario, I think we'll be doing some more filler episodes where it's a different group of characters, something like maybe Day of the Races, something like that. Because I do want to, play around with the dinosaur races a lot. And eventually, the final part of this overarching arc is going to be part 3, which is Mind Over Merchants, which involves a attack on Jobal, the merchant prince, and his particular villa. And so in the scenario, they use the official, the basic map for a merchant prince's villa from the Tomb of Annihilation adventure, which I'm trying to show you, but Roll20 has decided it's like, no, I don't want to. So let me see if I can find it in the book before. Here we are. So basically it is going to be Jobal, which is, let me just show him to you real fast in the book. That's Ifan. Where's Jobal gone? Anyways, so this is basically going to be fully populated as a dungeon. This is the default version of the map. I still need to add a bunch of Xanathar goons, and the general idea is that the player characters have to work their way through here, rescuing Jobal's staff, and basically get to this room where the Xanathar captain is trying to open up his head and shove an intellect devourer in it. Because that is their plan. They have come all the way to Chult in order to shove intellect devourers into the heads of the various trade princes, so the Xanathar Guild will control Port Nyanzaru. Yanks. And that is basically going to be the end of the well, maybe not the end of the level 3 bracket, or maybe the start of the level 3 scenarios and everything. But that is basically the general idea that I have. That's everything I've kind of got loosely prepared for the foreseeable future. And while that's going on, I'm basically going to be doing a large amount of Port Nyanzaru based content. Port Nyanzaru is going to be the primary location where a lot of the adventure, a lot of the early adventure takes place, because there's a lot of really cool content. And again, in the book, it's kind of almost encouraged that you show up here and then you head out into the jungle as soon as possible, because, oh, you want to see the tomb. Yeah, you're not interested in traveling here. You want to see the tomb. Oh, you're not interested in exploring here. You want to find the tomb. Oh, you're not interested in all the side stuff that's going on in the jungle. That's just all build up for the tomb, for the Death Trap dungeon. And that's a way of playing the game. You can absolutely do that if you wish. However, for me personally, I find that a little boring, personally. So, let me see if Sirenscape will come back on. There we go. There we go. But yeah, so this is the basic, ambience that I'm going to be playing. And with Port Nyanzaru, we're going to have a bunch of, if anyone's seen my previous campaign that I was DMing called Vorsal, which is in my homebrew setting, and it takes place within a dwarven city called Cusvelgrim, you'll all know that I really love city campaigns. I really love just all the flavor and the depth that you can do. Like the city itself is its own character, and or like the political intrigues, the interfaction play and stuff like that. I kind of really like that stuff. But I have a whole bunch of content that's primed and ready to go. Very episodic, easily digestible. It's not big and sprawling where it's like it's going to take 50 sessions for something to happen. It's all nice, compact, and we can cycle out a whole bunch of different characters so everything feels fresh. And for the most part, you're not going to be too worried about, say, it is going to be an interesting thing where it's like there's going to be a lot of Soundscape does not like this area. Okay, I might have to change some of my my pre-made stuff for the game before we go live, because that's going to be an issue. But yeah, what I was trying to say before that happened was I think that there's going to be a really interesting it's going to be fun having a whole bunch of little individual stories that go together to create a ongoing narrative. That's kind of what I'm going to be exploring with here, and I really want to kind of soak in this location for a while, because this is the only real city in the entirety of Chult. When they get out of Port Nyanzaru, it is the jungle, and Chult itself is a very interesting place to explore. The main thing that I want to try and get across when we're exploring Chult is that there's a lot of history, there's a lot of depth, there is a lot of old things here. There have been many empires that have risen, many kingdoms. Mabala, Mesro, Omu, Orolunga, all the things with even Hisari, all the stuff that has been going on in the past. There are all these ancient kingdoms that were true. They were the superpowers of their day, but over time things have just happened, and the jungle has won. And I think that's really, it's basically trying to tie back into actual history, where Cambodia, the places that they've discovered, the city that they discovered in Cambodia, and how it was just completely eaten up and forgotten over a period of a few hundred years. And that's kind of the ongoing theme, where all these different locations, they were powerful, they were the center of the world at one point, or at least the center of the country, and then they just stopped or they just slowly died over time, and they are completely consumed by the eternal jungle, because various reasons. But I'm trying to get across the reason Port Nyanzaru endures is because it isn't just focused on Chult. Port Nyanzaru is a place that connects with the rest of the world, and I know I'm trying to build in a sort of like the theme of being connected, not being closed off, about we are stronger together, something like that. That's kind of what I'm playing around with in my head. So whether or not that actually comes across in the actual game itself, we will see. But that, for the most part, is basically the the initial chunk of what I've got planned. This is Tomb of the Abomination, and I just realized I don't think I actually explained why it's called Tomb of the Abomination. In our Curse of Strahd game, my main player character that I've been playing for about 3 years now was a Aasimar from Chult. Basically, her parent was a Coatl. So she was basically covered in emerald scales, and she had bright, feathery, colourful, coatl-like wings. And she recently went bye-bye. They went through the Amber Temple, which, if slight spoilers for Curse of Strahd, if you don't know Curse of Strahd, if you were interested in this but not interested in hearing about Curse of Strahd, I'll allow you to click away now. But in essence, she was basically dragged out of Barovia by an antagonist who has been dogging her tracks for 10,000 years. Shah. When I was making the backstory to my character, her history with Chult, with Oralunga, and with Shah and the Eshal people specifically was something that I wanted to kind of play around with quite a bit. And between me and Nicola, who is the DM for Curse of Strahd and Waterdeep Dragon Heist, we were able to come up with a really, really interesting backstory involving the Radiant Abomination Anzilu, which is Sumerian for abomination. I use a lot of Sumerian for my ancient Chultan. So while I do like Tomb of Annihilation, the book as written is okay, but it has some problems. And to make this adventure my own, we are tying it in closely with the backstory of Anzilu, the Abomination. Hence the reason why, while the, Omu and the Tomb of the Nine Gods may most likely be a factor at some point. Again, we actually have one of the hags, Widow Groat, is on the boat at the very start of the game. However, Oralunga was the centre of the empire that the Radiant Abomination once had, and there's going to be a lot of content and a lot of stuff involving that and Mabala and the northwestern chunk of Chult that you're not going to see in other scenarios. But we'll get to that more in future videos, I think. I think for now I've kind of said everything I need to in regards to my plans for, this campaign and everything. I would love this to run 4 or 5 years, maybe 3 years, and have the players go from level 1 to 20, with various different characters. I'm absolutely fine with us doing the Tomb of the Nine Gods as kind of a meat grinder where all of the characters that they've put together over the past few years, basically they each take their turn and they try and go through the meat grinder. If that's what my players want to do, that's fine. I'm also fine with not even having the Tomb of the Nine Gods be a thing. What I want is to explore Chult itself. I want to explore this country, its history, the world and everything. And I'm really, really interested to see what my players think. Those of you who are on the Tomb of Annihilation Discord, you know how much content there is out there. All the expanded content for Adalni Basin, the Nisi Wastes, Ishao, and of course, the Lost City of Mesro books. I could go in any direction right now. It is entirely up to my players on what interests them. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to see what direction this story takes place. But I am fully prepared to use anything and everything in order to explore this land and play around with the stories that other people have been able to write. But that's basically it. That's my general mission statement for Tomb of the Abomination or Tomb of Annihilation. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and also on the whatever thread that I post on Reddit and the Discord. I'm also going to include links to as many resources as I can in this video for people who are watching this video and have no idea where they can find these resources. Also, I'm going to be including a link to my version of the player map. You can absolutely use that for free. Ooh, what is mine is yours. You know, take what you will, and have fun with it, and let me know what you think. Until next time, that is basically it. Thank you for watching, and you will find the very first episode of this, The Brazen Pegasus, a seafaring adventure to Chult. You're going to find that on twitch.tv/Dennis Illustration, and we're going to be playing that on Saturday the 23rd of October 2021. That will be the starting point, and that is going to be in just, oh wait, not the 23rd, no, the 30th. I'm going back in time. Oh my gosh, no, Saturday the 30th. I'm a dummy. You may have picked up on this. We will be playing it on the 30th, and that is going to be in about about 4 or 5 days from the recording of this video. So I'm very excited. I hope you are too. Please, any comments, any feedback or anything, feel free to share. And is it Saturday yet?